Okay. Hola, Vivian.
Hola, Linda, ¿cómo estás?
Buenos días.
¿Qué tal? Vamos a empezar. Okay, bienvenidas. Okay, so today is a double class. And first we're going to do some Tanya, and then we're going to do some Sefirot. Okay, and we're going to start a new chapter in Tanya 19, but I just have to point out a very important concept. Finishing chapter 18, yeah, and I'm going to illustrate it here in the board. So, and it has to do also with the Sefirot, okay, because this is our head, right? And there are 10 Sefirot. What are the Sefirot? The Sefirot are the energies that Hashem creates the world and that He enlivens us. That all our energies are natural resources. That's what it really is. It's the natural resources, just as Hashem endows the world with natural resources. And therefore, we have air, we have water, we have oil, we have other elements, right? So too, Hashem is one. Hashem is a perfect oneness, Yahid. And then He divides this energy into 10 channels. These are the Sefirot, okay? Like 10 natural resources. Okay? So that's why we have 10 fingers. Our world really is a decimal world, okay? There are 3 Sefirot that are intellectual. That's how we process information, how we acquire, how we process, how we assimilate it. And then there are 7 emotional Sefirot, okay? So just finishing chapter 18 in the Tanya, it talks about how do we bring in new information, okay? So our brain, so to speak, is divided into 3 parts. Okay? Chokhmah is the part of the brain, is a sephira, okay, that brings in new information. It's, like, I'm gonna go to Publix after class, and I'm gonna look for products, and usually when a product, you have 2 of the same ketchups or whatever, right? Two of the same. They're exactly the same. But one has a sticker and it goes like this. And it says new, right? Which one do you get? The new one, right? Because we expect the new one to be better. Maybe it's a little bit healthier, right? It's newer, it's more fresh, right? I don't know how long this one has been sitting on the shelves, right? I went to buy eggs yesterday or 2 days ago in Kosher Kingdom, the same eggs. One was $12.99, the other one was $8.99. I'm sure that the $8.99 was the one from the last batch. But like the price went, I never noticed prices, but this was like just incredible. Anyways, so new, right? Why does it attract us? Because there's a part of our neshama, there's a part of our brain, there's a part of our spiritual makeup that actually is geared towards that. That is it. It wants anything that is new. That is chokhmah. Chokhmah, we can break it up, the word, into 2 words. What is it? It's koach. It's the koach. It's the force of ma. What is ma? What is it? It's like, what is this? They say that in the desert, when the Jews left Egypt and the man appeared, right? They didn't know, they had never seen it, something new, right? It was like a little drop of, no, it was a little kernel, right? Very, very small, between 2 drops of dew. And they said, Ma, like, what is this, right? What is this? I've never seen it. This is Chokhmah. Chokhmah is always seeking something new, right? Like, I love to make new friends. I love to meet new people. It's something I have inside of me. I used to live in Bogota, up in the mountains. And one thing that I missed in life was that, because you don't meet with tons of new people every day. That's in Miami. Miami is the center of the world. You meet new people. I love that, right? But that comes from the chokhmah in us. Now, Hashem has made us that we all have these 10 sefirot, but each person gets a different proportion. Just like natural resources in the world, each country gets different percentages of, iron and ore and uranium and some salt. Some countries are very rich in some things, others in others, right? So to us, we all have the 10 sefirot, right? Some people don't want to make new friends. They have their 3 friends from their childhood, their whole life. That's all they want. They don't want to make new friends. It's a close group. It's really, it has to do with the chokhmah in them. It's a very small percentage of chokhmah. They don't want to develop it. They don't, it's like they eat their same things. They don't want to try something. Or some people, they need to travel to all the uncharted places in the world, right? Every time something new, a new restaurant, a new. This is a thirst from the chokhmah. What we have to understand is, in order for chokhmah to be activated, what has to happen inside of me? There has to be a moment of humility. Why? Because if I know it all, if I have it all, if I am it, there's no room for something new. Right? Remember, we were cleaning for Pesach, taking out the old, so to bring out the new. Okay, so the quality of chokhmah is that constantly it's putting aside, putting yourself aside, my preconceptions, in order to get something new, right? New technology, right? If I am set in the ways I do things, I can't understand the new technology, right? Because I am just so set in the ways I do things, I can't understand, a new recipe, a new way of baking a cake, there has to be a moment of what? Bitul, a moment of self-abnegation, okay? Are we all together? So this chokhmah is not, we can acquire wisdom with it, but this is just like an open mouth. It's like in the opening, it's like receiving. After we receive information from chokhmah, where does it go to? Where do we process it? What is the analysis, right? Where do we analyze things? Okay, this is in Bina. That's a different Sefira. Bina seeks to connect. I learned something. Let me try to understand it. So how do I understand something? I can only understand the number 4 if I have previously learned the number 2. Then I say, okay, 4 is 2 plus 2, right? If somebody comes in and speaks Chinese, what's going to happen? Unless we have any foundation in Chinese, it's going to come in and out. It comes into chokhmah, something new, but there's no way in Bina I can connect it to anything. So you know what? That's what we say. It's like Chinese to me. I cannot understand it, right? Now, I speak Spanish. If somebody comes in and speaks French or Italian, in Bina, whatever came from chokhmah, I'm going to connect it. You know what? This sounds like this word that I know, that sounds like another word. So I'm going to get a little bit of a gist, understanding comes from Bina. This is analysis, okay? Are we together? So this is more humility in order to bring in something new. And this is analysis. So like there's called Chacham, a person that acquires a lot of knowledge because they're studying, they're bringing in new. But it really is also the process, okay? All right, so chapter 18 tells us what were our patriarchs? Our patriarchs, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Our patriarchs, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, they were so humble, right? That they opened up this chokhmah, they opened up to Hashem, okay? And it came in, this knowledge of God, this getting close to God because of their humility. And this, all the Sefirot, okay, the 10 Sefirot, it's like 10 circles, and they are intersected, okay? And so from the highest point to the lowest point of one Sephira becomes the highest point of the next Sephira, and then down. So Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, through their chokhmah and their humility and their opening up to Hashem, all his knowledge and all his love, they bequeath to us, to their children, this tremendous love for Hashem. Okay, and this is what is called in the Tanya a natural love. Why is it natural? Why is it natural? Because I did nothing for it. It's already in my DNA. It's like an inheritance. This is an inheritance of our patriarchs. This chokhmah of Hashem. So this is called the natural love of God. We did nothing for it. Chapter 18 starts talking about it. Before, we have talked about a Bina love of Hashem. We have talked about looking at a sunrise and saying, wow, only you can make a sunrise. Hashem, you're so incredible, right? Every time I'm always give this example. I found a good parking spot. I said, thank you, Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. I got here in time. Thank you, Hashem, right? That's Bina. I am connecting. I'm using my intellect. And the more we use our intellect will give birth to emotion. Okay? Intellect is going to give birth to emotion. And Yira. So this is a love of Hashem that we have to work for it. Okay? This natural love of Hashem, this we don't work for it. Sometimes we have to open it up. Now, we all have it. Every Jew has this inheritance. But what happens? It could be buried inside of us. And what happens? Sometimes in life, there's something very strong, a test, a really difficult test in our lives. And then this buried, because I could have a treasure and maybe I don't know about it. My father-in-law wrote a book about his life recently. It's very interesting. I was reading one of the stories. He was born in Cali, Colombia. His parents in Israel, but he was born in Cali. So his hobby was to promote art, and he promoted many artists, and that was his hobby. And he told a story, when artists, they lived a very bohemian life, right? In Paris and this and that. And so one artist, they lived very frugally. And so he had an old couch in his apartment where he was staying, and he didn't have any room for it. So he called the other artist and he said, do you want this old couch? I can't use it. And he said, okay, fine. I'll take the couch. And after some time, the second artist, in Paris, he grew he grew uncomfortable with the couch. He didn't have any more place or space for it. So he decided, you know, I'm sorry, can we use technology outside? I just kind of, so sorry, but my thoughts. So, so what happens is that the second artist, he took the couch and he put it outside for the garbage people to pick up. So what happens, he was very, very astounded to see around the couch a lot of people.
No, I have my things.
One second.
Of course, mints. Telling I'm a chef. I'm a really good.
Okay. So he saw a lot of people gathering around the couch and like a whole to do. And he was wondering, what are they doing around this old couch? And what happened is that he saw that they had discovered that in this old couch, there were gold coins. And they found, the poor people in the street, they found these gold coins. And these two artists who had previously had this couch never knew about these old gold coins. You know, they could have really used them. That's the natural love. The natural love is a treasure we have inside of us. It's bequeathed by our patriarchs. It's in us. It's because of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob that they had this tremendous chokhmah, this humility, and they opened up to Hashem, and they acquired this, and it's inside of us. Now, it could be buried. Maybe we don't know about it, but what happens is that oftentimes in life, different tests, it activates it, and that's why even Jews that are very far away from their Judaism, when put to the test, they're willing to give up their lives for Hashem. So we're going to read page 116. I think it is. There's a story on 116. With that, we're going to close chapter 18. Okay, so it says like this. Many years ago in Eastern Europe, there lived a Jewish child named Favish. Okay, that was his name, who was kidnapped and raised by a childless poritz. A poritz was a land owner. Though he knew nothing about Torah, this Jewish child, he knew he was a Jew. Over the years, the poritz, the landowner, tried to convince him to convert to Christianity. But Favish always refused. Finally, the church gave him an ultimatum. Either convert or die. And what did Favish say? Page 116. I was born Favish and I will die Favish. Favish emphatically exclaimed. When they killed him, a Jewish woman was overheard to have said, Hashem, we chose well when we accepted you as our king, but you also chose well when you chose us to be your nation. Favish sanctified himself for your name. So what happened? Favish, he knew he was a Jew. He didn't know anything about his Yiddishkeit or his Jewishness, right? But when put to the test, what happened? The test takes out whatever is covering this natural love of Hashem that's bequeathed by our patriarchs, and he says, I was born Favish and I will die Favish. Okay? That's where it comes from. This is where we're starting from. This is the natural love that the Tanya is talking about. Let's go to page 118. We're going to start chapter 19. Okay, it's called also a hidden love. Okay, okay, so I'm gonna speak a little bit more about what chapter 19 is all about. Chapter 19, there is King Solomon, right? One of the wisest people that ever lived, King Solomon. So he compared a neshama, a soul, to a candle. Okay, he said the soul of man is a candle. Okay, so what is a candle? And it's very interesting because there's different interpretations about what King Solomon said, but in all it's different characteristics of a candle burning. And it's very interesting because we light candles Friday night, right? So it says that in materials in this world, in elements, the fire is what most resembles the neshama. It's what most resembles a soul. Why? Because King Solomon said, the candle has a wick. Okay, the wick is this. This is the wick. It has a flame. It has a receptacle, right? And it has oil, right? With which to burn. The more oil, the more it's gonna light. Yes? It says this, the wick is our body. Okay, it could be our body, it could be our animal soul. Okay, because in different interpretations, they look at it differently. Okay, it could be our body, it could be our animal soul. Okay. The oil that I need for the wick to light up, to consume, it could be Torah study. The more I study, the more I want to do. Mitzvot. Okay. And the flame is the light that we bring into this world, right? The connection with God that we bring into this world. The connection with Hashem. Okay. But in the process, and in some instances, they say that this is the body, not just the animal soul, right? Body or animal soul, okay? And this is when we do a mitzvah, we're lighting up the world, but in the process, this is consuming itself. The wick consumes itself. That's why if anybody lights on oil on Shabbat, right? Then the little wicks, they consume themselves. So we are consuming also the animal soul. We're consuming ourselves in the process. The more we study, the more we want to do, the more we want to light, the better we can light, the better we can shine. So in all this parallel, okay, this is why the King Solomon says, a candle is, a Jew is the candle of God in this world, okay? And we also say, right, the Jewish people, we're light unto the nations. Right? We're bringing light unto the nations. Okay. So, all right. So, let's go. Okay. So, 118, page 118. The natural desire and yearning of the neshama is to leave the body and reconnect to its origin and source. Hashem, when it encounters a test of faith, it is awakened from its slumber. So, not only does King Solomon give us this parallel, but what happens when I light a candle? The wick is flickering, right? It's like jumping up and down, right? So the explanation is that the flame wants to go back to its source. So I was listening to a class, very interesting, and it was saying, Hashem made the world with how many elements? What are the four basic elements, right? So if we see planet Earth, okay, this is planet Earth, what is the lowest element? Earth, right? It's the heaviest, and it's what is underneath our legs, that's the Earth. What covers the Earth? Let's see, what covers the Earth? Water. And we know, very interesting from Bereshit, that originally water covered the whole earth. Hashem had to give a commandment to the water, to the sea, to recede, right? In order for the earth to be able to see the earth. Because originally water covered all the earth. That's why many commentators say that when we go to the beach, to look at the waves is to have a lesson in how to serve Hashem, because the waves' natural tendency is to cover again the earth, but they recede. That's why they try to come and then they go back in order to listen to Hashem. So we can learn from the waves how to listen to Hashem, right? Okay, and what covers the water? What's above the water? Air. So here are 3 elements. And so what is above the air? We can, as an example, we have the sun, fire. Okay? So these are the 4 elements, and they are all in their orders. Okay? So fire that comes from up. That's why the flame wants to almost jump out of its skin. It wants to really go back. You know, it says about an etrog. You know, the etrog, the 4 species, however it is born, however it grows on the tree, even when you cut it, if you throw it up in the air, it's always going to come back to the earth the same way that it grew. Like people go back to their roots. So the root of the flame is to go back to the sun. That's why it flickers up. Why does it come down? It comes down because it's not about what I want, but what does Hashem want? Hashem wants it to stay here. So it's now if we see that, you know, there's a force going this way and there's a force coming back. Okay, this is called ratzo, like running, like Eretz Israel. Eretz is because the land of Israel wants to run to do Hashem's will. So all of this parallel is talking about our neshama. Our neshama comes from Hashem. Our neshama also wants to go back to its source. As a part of our neshama, that's its natural tendency. It wants to, and if we see what would happen to the flame if it would leave the source, it would extinguish. Darkness, no more light. Even if it's against its will to survive. You see that there's many things going on? Because we have inside of us 2 souls. We have a divine soul, it wants to do its mission. And we have an animal soul. And what is the purpose of the animal soul? It's survival. Its main instinct, its primary instinct of the animal soul is to survive. So imagine that there's a force in us, like a flame, it wants to flicker up back to its source, right? Even if it's against its survival instinct. This is in us. Now, why do we not expire? Because Hashem doesn't want that. Hashem wants us to be in this world. Hashem wants us to be in a body. Please, technology outside. It really, my thoughts leave me. It's not because of you, it's because of me. So anyways, in our history, in the Torah, who do we see that actually expired from this ratzo? It's called ratzo without shuv. The force going up, it's ratzo, like running. Force coming down, I come back into this body, I stay in this world, not because I want to, but that's what Hashem wants. Yes, Shuv of Teshuvah, it's Nadav and Abihu, the 2 children of Aaron. We just read it like in the last week, the 2 weeks. The 2 children of Aaron, what happened? They wanted to go up to Hashem. Rashi says they died because they never got married. They didn't have children. Why is that? Because they didn't want anything to cling into this world. They didn't want children to tell them, Papi, come home from the yeshiva, don't study any more Torah, a nagging wife, pick up some eggs for me. They didn't want that. They just wanted to run and do Hashem's, to feel spirituality and go back to the source. And it actually happened. It's called Klot HaNefesh. Our soul can actually leave us. But Hashem doesn't really want that. He wants us, even So do we see that there's two forces? They're counter forces. This is the heartbeat. This is the heartbeat. That's why it's expansion and contraction. This is the heartbeat of our soul. We have two different forces inside of us, okay? All right, so here we are. Throughout history, thousands of Jews, okay? Throughout history, thousands of Jews have chosen to die rather than accept another religion. Strangely enough, the myriads of Jews who have given their lives for Kiddush Hashem include not only great tzaddikim or scholars, but sinners and ignorant people. Where does this come from? What motivates someone who seems not to care about the Torah to suddenly give up everything for it? So remember what we said at the beginning of the class? There's chokhmah. That's where faith comes in, right? It's not intellect. It's beyond intellect. Bina, this is my intellect. Are we together? So that's why it says Jews that have given up their lives, maybe they didn't study Torah. Maybe they didn't know mitzvot. It's not about the bina. It's about the chokhmah in them. It's about this inheritance that we have from our patriarchs. Okay. Yes, go ahead. Okay, so the question is, why in the Sefirot do we only talk about the 7 emotional Sefirot? We don't talk about the 3 intellectual. The 3 intellectual, we already worked at them at the Seder. The Seder, that's why we talk about the Magid, we eat matzah. Okay, all the rituals of the Seder are working on Chokhmah, Bina, and that. So the 3 intellectual we have worked on, and now the 49 are dedicated to the emotion. Okay, which is really the offspring, the bringing it down from the inside. Okay, all right. The answer lies in the mystery of the flame. If you observe a flame, you will notice that it constantly leaps upward, striving to leave the wick that holds it down. Okay, so the flame is trying to flicker upward, but why? The wick is the only thing that keeps it in existence. Without the wick, the flame would disappear. If the flame were asked the question, it would respond, you're right. It doesn't make sense. You know, this desire that I have to unite to the source of fire, right? It doesn't make sense because I will die. Right? But this is my nature. It is true that most things want to exist, but my nature is to try not to exist. So it's interesting. Tell us the nature of a Jew. That's why the nature really is bitul. It's not about the me. You know, everything in life is screaming me, me, me. Like this bottle is saying, I'm a bottle, I'm a bottle, I'm a bottle. This table is saying, I'm a table, I. The Jew really inside of us, it's I am not. It's only Hashem. The Alter Rebbe that wrote the Tanya, when he was in his deathbed, there were Hasidim, I think even his son was next to him, and the Alter Rebbe asked the people around him, what do you see? What do you see here on high? And they say, we see the beams. We see the structure of the house. And the Alter Rebbe said, I only see spirituality. I only see the energy of God that is activating all. He sees to see physicality. You know, physicality is really hiding Hashem, right? And it's very interesting. There was Ralph Adud was telling me that he read an article or he listened to a class, and it was saying, what is Mashiach times? An interpretation of Mashiach times is when we stop seeing the world as an ego, as something physical, and we just start to see life as godliness. Has it ever happened to you? Has there ever been a time in your life something happens and you don't really focus on the events of what's happening, but you kind of just sense this is from Hashem? if it's a car accident, if it's somebody getting into a university, not getting into a university, shidduch or not a shidduch, I don't know. Has it ever happened to you? Because it's something really beautiful. When there's times in life that sometimes we're privileged to see, to sense, this is from Hashem. It's not about the thing that's actually happening. And he was saying, that's Mashiach times. When we cease to see just the physicality, but we can sense something deeper. Okay. All right. So Shlomo HaMelech, the king Solomon says in Mishlei that the flame of Hashem is the soul of man. The neshama is just like a flame. If the neshama were asked what it really wants most of all, the neshama would respond, I want to be nothing. Understand? The animal soul is saying, I am something. Everything in this world wants to be something. The neshama, really, our neshama, our divine soul is saying, I am nothing. Why? I am only Hashem. I want to be so united with Hashem that my separate existence completely disappears. Every Jew has this nature deep inside him. Every Jew at his core wants to be so completely united with Hashem that he himself dissolves completely, like a ray of sun that disappears completely when absorbed in the sun, right? If we see the sun, if this is the sun, and these are the ray of lights, can we really pinpoint where does the sun begin? Where does the sun end? And where do the rays begin? You cannot, because it's seamless, right? It's seamless. And that's what the soul wants. It wants to be one, united with Hashem without the body covering it. Okay? All right. So, but this nature is covered over by the nature of Nefesh HaBehamit, this animal soul, Nefesh Behamit. If the animal soul were asked what it wants, right? The divine soul says, I want to be nothing. I want to be a part of Hashem. Animal soul, what does it say? I want to be somebody. I want to get a PhD. I want to get a master's. I want to be known for this. I want my name up on this on this whatever thing that I donated. It's I. Okay. Okay. So okay, I want to be big, independent, something. The nefesh habehamit, the animal soul, is powerful and covers over the nefesh elokit. This is powerful and it covers over the divine soul. That is why most of us don't feel the divine soul. It's inside, but we don't feel its desire to be united with Hashem. But the flame of the neshama can never truly be covered. It can only go to sleep. So it's always there, but sometimes we don't feel it. It's just asleep. But when the neshama is awakened and its powerful yearning for Hashem is revealed, nothing can stop it or block it. Okay? All right. That is why so many Jews throughout history have chosen to die rather than to bow to an idol or convert to another religion. The difficult test they faced awoke their neshamot, which had been asleep for so long. And when the flame of a Jew is sparked, the nefesh habehamit, the animal soul, melts like wax in front of it. Once this arises, this melts, right? It seems so strong, but it just melts away. Now, nothing concealing the flame of his soul, the Jew displays his superhuman strength. When that occurs, every Jew, regardless of his previous choices or lifestyle, would joyously give up his life to remain connected with his deepest love, Hashem. Okay? This is what chapter 19 is about. All right? Let me just see. Okay. All right. Good. Okay, so now we're going to close the Tanya. We're going to leave it there. And we're going to go into the Omer. But it's very interesting because everything is related. We've been speaking about it. Okay. So So as we said, the Omer is energies, are natural resources that we have, okay? They are divided into 10. 3 are intellectual and 7 are emotional. Even the way that our body is built is because of the Sefirot, okay? So my right hand represents the Sephira of Chesed, of kindness, of giving, of openness. Gevura is the opposite, is everything that I take, everything that I go inward. Like a car. A car has an accelerator and it has a brake. Really, in emotions, there's only 2. It's either chesed, it's either open or closed. It's either hot water or cold water. Everything else is a mixture of the 2, okay? What is fascinating about the Sefirot is that these are our natural resources. We all have them. But if I know that I have them, now I can maximize them. I see the Sefirot like a musician. Before he starts to play a concert, he has to fine-tune his guitar, right? Either a string is too tight, he has to loosen it, or it's too loose and he has to tighten it. Or maybe a string is broken. So this is the time of the year between the second night of Pesach and Shavuot that we have, because our emotional strings are 49, okay? So we have from Pesach to Shavuot, okay? There, on the second day of Pesach, we bring the Omer, and it's 49, counting of the Omer, 49 days. Shavuot is day 50, okay? We count 49, and it's also divided not only into days, but into weeks. Each week is dedicated to one aspect, to one of these Sefirot, okay? What happened in the temple on Pesach, on the second day of Pesach? We would bring an Omer sacrifice, okay? So this book, they have recommended to me, this is called The Dance of the Omer. It's a book, to me, it's very written more like a poem. It's very poetic, the way that the author writes about this, okay? He calls it a dance because when we brought the Omer offerings in on Pesach, we had to do a waving of it, right? Just like we wave the 4 species on Sukkot, right? Have you seen how they wave the 4 species on Sukkot? They take the 4 species, the edrog and the lulav and all that, and you wave it. You wave it to the east, bring it to your heart. You wave it to the south, to your heart, to the north, up, down, and around. Okay, this is the waving. So too, the Omer, they would wave it. They would, to the south, to the east, to the north, up, down, west, all around. So what happens? That the author describes this waving as a dance. And he says, what happens when you dance? What happens to you when you dance, right? Why is Zumba so popular today? Why are people, flocking to Zumba classes? Because when I dance, I hear the music, but I move my body and tension is released, happiness, endorphins are secreted, right? I transform myself, right? I don't, the way that I go into class of Zumba is not the same way that I come out, right? I could be more happy, more alleviated at something. I work my muscles. So the dance of the Omer, according to this author, is that when we are doing this counting of the Omer, we are transforming ourselves with each day of the counting. We're transforming ourselves with each level of this Omer. Okay, so this is where the book starts. As I tell you, it's written very, very poetic, in a very, very poetic way. I'll tell you a little bit about the introduction. Okay, so here is where it's talking about the Omer and the dance. And okay, so he explains first that the Omer that we brought biblically was what? Was made up of barley. Barley. Okay. And on Shavuot, we bring an offering of what? Of bread. Of wheat. And it's very unusual. Not only is it wheat, but it's also with honey. Ladies, please, technology outside. That's the only thing that I request in my class, that technology should be outside. That's all. You can go out many times. I don't do it. Okay, so what do our sages tell us about barley? So for you, immediately it's a repetition from yesterday. I come from Peru. In Peru, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, quinoa, that today is considered a superfood, right? In many of the healthy restaurants or fancy restaurants, there's quinoa recipes. But when I grew up, quinoa was used for the chickens, like chicken food. Like when you go to carrot jungle and you feed the little carrots, like little seeds, this is what in Peru we give the animals, quinoa. It was a very cheap food and it was considered like nobody would dream of having quinoa on their table for lunch. Okay, it was like unheard of, but it's been changed. Okay, according to the Torah, barley is animal fodder. It's food for animals. Okay. Wheat, they say a person can actually live and maintain themselves with bread and water. So wheat is considered something for humans. Barley cebada. So what are they telling us? Because everything in the Torah is chokhmah of Hashem. It's the intellect of Hashem. And Hashem is talking to us life lessons through our Torah. So it's telling us when we left Egypt, Egypt was one of the most, if not the most, decadent of societies. The children were decadent. Everybody was decadent. They had animalistic practices. They had idolatry. The Jews, we had succumbed to many of those customs. Okay, the number 49 is because there are 49 days. Okay, 49 days of impurity, and there's 49 days of purity. The number 50 is already beyond the gate. It's like you have arrived. 50 is you have arrived. Okay. When Moses asked God, "Show me your face," what was Moses asking? Moses was asking Hashem, I want to understand who you are, what you are, how are you managing the world? Like, what does everything mean? And what does Hashem answer Moses? No man can see my face and live, which means no man can get to gate 50. 50 is like face to face with Hashem and live. In impurity, this is like if a person would get to number 50 of impurity, it's like chas v'shalom, a drug addict, right? A drug addict could go on a trip and come back, v'shalom, and he has some lucidity, he wants to get out of it, and he could be able to. But what happens if he gets to gate 50 of an overdose? then he dies. So 50 is like there's no more portals. 50 is like you're either dead or you're in Gan Eden, but it's not here. Yeah.
So there were 49 levels of impurity also.
Yeah.
Are those equivalent to the Sefirot
Yeah.
of the Omer?
Yeah, we're gonna see how, right. So that's what I'm explaining. There's 49 gates of impurity, 49 gates of purity. In Egypt, we had descended. We had descended to the 49 gate of impurity. One more gate, and we will not be able to come out. That's why when Hashem took us out of Egypt, it was like now. Remember, 80% of the people did not come out of Egypt. 80% of the Jews did not come out. And it was like, we're leaving, and we're leaving now. One more day, and you're not gonna be able to come out. Okay, when Hashem performed the 10th plague in Egypt, the killing of the firstborn, the angels in heaven, they said, why are you killing these and not those? Why are you killing the Egyptian firstborns and you're not killing the Jewish firstborns? Because they're also, like, they're so decadent. They have succumbed so much. Why are you killing them also? Right? So we were almost like, no, in the gate of no return. What happens, that's why we bring the barley offering on the second day of Pesach. The day we came out of Egypt, the next day, we bring a barley offering. It's like, I am in the state of an animal. In my spiritual context, I have succumbed. I am all the way here. Now, in the desert, through eating the matzah, through being in the presence of Moshe, through studying Torah, each day we refined ourselves. We came up one, we came up another, we came up another notch. That's what the counting of the Sefirot is. We are refining. It's like, I remember I said, like a musician, each tuning, each string, right? How is my chesed? Is it to lose? How is my chesed of chesed? How is my unconditional love? Is it alive? Am I able to do that? There's some things that merit that I have unconditional love. It doesn't matter who, it doesn't matter what, it doesn't matter when, right? Chas v'shalom, a war in Israel. And all of a sudden, every neighbor is your friend. Every Jew, you're gonna give up your life for. You're gonna help anybody, right? What happens when it's not war? You see a Jew, like I was in a restaurant yesterday. They weren't behaving so nicely, some of them. Oh, I don't want to be associated with them. All of a sudden, my chesed of chesed is very locked up, right? It's not, so there's moments of chesed, there's moments of gevura of chesed, there's moments of putting, so this is what we're working, counting the Omer. Until when? Until we get to gate 50, until we get to 49 here, and then Hashem says, wow, you have worked on yourself. You have refined yourself. Now you are fit to bring an offering of wheat. Now you're behaving like a human being, right? Rabbi Jacobson tells a story. He says that a man wants to rent an apartment. And he goes to a landowner that is on the floor beneath it, and he says, you know, I need to rent your apartment, it's above you. And the landowner, he says, okay, but no children are allowed. So no children. Okay, fine. So he rents it to him. And then he comes in, the man that's gonna rent the apartment with like 6 children, and they're running up and down and screaming and, you know, hanging from the chandelier. And the apartment owner comes in, knocks on the door and says, didn't I tell you no children? He says, these are not children, these are animals. These are behemoths, these are not children. It sounds like a joke, but that's what happens to us. Okay. All right. So we were saying there's basically two emotional sefirot, and it's like a car. Either I'm gonna press the gas. Either it's gonna be chesed, which is everything that is expansion. This is like anything that I expand. It is also the igniting of the car, ignition. From Chesed, you see, sometimes we think of Chesed as just kindness. It's not. Kindness is an expression of Chesed. To be a helicopter mother is also Chesed. To be a mother-in-law that is meddling, a meddling mother-in-law is also Chesed. To be a person that is, controlling, it comes also from Chesed. It's just expansion. But remember, inside of us, there's not just one soul, there's two souls. And we said that the Sefirot are our natural resources. So our natural resources is Chesed. But which soul is going to use the Chesed? We have countries, we have presidents, we have Venezuela, a very wealthy country. But we have a tyrant, a dictator, a very evil man that is managing the resources. What is he doing with it? Aiding terrorists, squashing the people, right? So Sefirot are just our natural resources. They can be used for good or not good, okay? So the basic two Sefirot are Chesed and Gevura. And just like we talked about, Ratzon and Shuv. Ratzon is running and Shuv is retraction. And that's the heartbeat of life. So too, we have the duality of how Hashem made this world. For every positive, there's going to be also a negative. The Gevura is not the expansion, it's the contraction. There's two types of exercises. There's aerobic, there's anaerobic. Aerobic is aerobic exercise. I'm going to go from one side to the other. I'm going to run, I'm going to jump, right? I'm going to move. Anaerobic, that anaerobic is not about moving, it's about tension, right? It's like breathe, hold, right? That's another kind of exercise, right? So there's two types. Gevura is all about inwardness. It's about discipline. It's about strength, force, silence. From Chesed, I'm going to speak. I'm going to shout. Okay. All right. So. Yeah, I'm giving an example so we can relate to it. That's because it's everything that is inward. Okay. Now, everything else is derived from those two. All right. So so here, I'm just going to read to you what the author writes, as you asked me about this yesterday. So when we read the Sefirot, there's also a few prayers that we say afterwards, and this is one of them. It says like this, the way that he interpreted. Therefore, may it be your will, Hashem, our God, and one of our fathers, that in the merit of the Omer, of counting the Omer, any defect I have caused within the Sephira of this day, because every day we say a different Sephira. So what is it talking about? Hashem gives us these natural resources. He gives it to us in order for us to utilize them correctly, right? There's sages that interpret as thievery or robbery or murder when we misbehave. Why? Because we're taking the air, the mazal, everything that Hashem has given me, and He has given me everything that I have to use in a service. And when I do not do that, that's like stealing from Hashem. Because He gave me something, He gave me life, He gave me time, and it was to use for a divine purpose. When I use it for something not good, or something other than that, it's like stealing, it's like killing. There's interpretations like that. So what is it saying? It's saying that there's like oil ducts where they extract the oil from the ground, and by these pipes, the oil is transported somewhere else. My husband told me that Brazil is one of the biggest exporters of orange juice in the world, and to the point that they have made these orange juice ducts, pipelines. Okay? So we have everything in this physical world is telling us about the spiritual. So we have these pipelines that connect Hashem to us through, and in those pipelines, that's where he gives us the energy of the Sefirot. Okay, so when Hashem is sending me Chesed, it's saying here, right? If I haven't used my Chesed correctly, and I have established a defect, because if I don't use it correctly, I am like stuffing those. I am putting something that is. I am stuffing those pipelines. I am not letting it flow. Okay. Should be rectified. May I be purified and sanctified with sublime holiness, and through this may abundant bounty be bestowed upon all the worlds, because really Hashem sends everything just for blessing. May it rectify our being, our spirit, and our souls from every baseness and blemish, and may it purify us and sanctify us with your sublime holiness. Okay, so So every time we're going to read a little bit more about this book, and I'm going to explain today a little bit more about the Sefirah of Chesed. Okay, so it's a good exercise in order to understand what it is. If you write in your own words, what do you think Chesed is? What is this expansion? So we have Chesed. Okay. And the first expression, because all these 7 Sefirot, it's also in combination. There's Chesed of Chesed, there's Gebura of Chesed, there's Tiferet of Chesed, there's Netzach of Chesed. Like it's a complex system. So every Sefirah has also a little bit of the others. Okay, so what would, as we said, what is Chesed of Chesed? That's where unconditional love is. Unconditional love. Unconditional love, right? We could see also the world of like dreams. It's like anything is possible, everything is possible. I can fly, I can, people that are not here are here. It's like this expansion, this is like Chesed of Chesed. Okay? In a good way, we could see, yes, unconditional love is very necessary. What would be this natural resource used by the animal soul? What is this unconditional, no limit? There's no limit. No limit. Resource by us, in us, used by our animal. How could it be? An example? Anybody? So, what if I have unconditional love for just everybody? Is that great?
No boundaries.
Huh?
You have no boundaries. Right?
No boundaries. That's right. There's no boundaries. No boundaries. So I went to a store and I needed to buy a present, and they had jewelry, and they told me there's a collection called For the Children. And so I imagine, a percentage of this is given to some cause. And I asked, so what is this cause for the children? So it's a very famous organization. So while the salesperson is talking to me, I quickly looked in my phone, in the internet, what is this organization for the children. And the first thing that appeared was for the children of Gaza. I said, thank you very much. I'm not going to take that. So this Chesed of Chesed can also be utilized in a negative way, right? So we have no boundaries to who we are kind. Right? What would be Gebura of Chesed? Gebura of Chesed. So I'm going to put a limit, right? I'm going to put a limit, but it's coming from love. What could it be? I need to discipline my child. I love my child, but I need to say no. You've already had dessert. No to desserts, right? It's coming from love. It's not coming from Gebura, it's coming from love, okay? What would be in a negative way? A Gebura from Chesed, right? I'm strong when I am utilizing strength when I really have to be kind. There's a moment, I think it's the right thing to use strength, but it's not the appropriate time. But I'm gonna try to finish. Let's say you can finish. What is Tiferet? Tiferet of Chesed. So right arm is Chesed, left arm is Gebura, torso is Tiferet. And we know torso, the core, right now is the most important thing when you exercise, because the strength really comes from your core. So if this is hot water and this is cold water, what is this? This is the regulator. This is what tells you how much cold and how much hot. My sister was telling me in her new shower, the shower has broken. So sometimes it's very cold, sometimes it's very hot, because the regulator is not working, right? Our regulator is what our ability, we all have this ability to look outside of us to see how much Chesed and how much Gebura we need to utilize for a certain situation. This is a most important attribute. We are in the week of Tiferet. Tiferet is not about, you know what, I'm a Chesed person, I'm a love. No. Tiferet is about feeling what is really the reality. This is our chameleon-like aspect. This is our balance. This is our seek for truth. The thirst for truth comes from Tiferet, because Chesed is very inward. It's like, it's my Chesed. A person that's kind needs to do kindness. A person of Gebura, it's my Gebura. I'm a disciplined person, right? For persons like that. But Tiferet is the first time, the first attribute that allows us, let me go outside of myself and let me really look at my reality. So from Tiferet, we have not the IQ, not the intellectual quotient, but it's the EQ. EQ is emotional intelligence, right? What does this situation require of me? Maybe it requires Chesed, maybe this time it requires Gebura, maybe a little bit of both. Maybe this child requires this, and maybe this child requires that. But emotional intelligence, today, they tell us, is the most important of all the qualities. Are we together? Okay, so what would be emotional intelligence of Chesed is, you know what, I'm going to, Hashem in the Torah says, I'm going to go down and see. When it talks about Sodom, that's really Tiferet of Gebura. He's going to do an act of severity, but he first goes down to see really what's happening firsthand, not just he's hearing rumors. He wants to go down to see. This is Tiferet, okay? Tiferet of Chesed is let me do what is just. And this is why from Tiferet of Chesed is born empathy. Because from From Chesed, pure Chesed is I will have pity on you. Pity is I have and you don't have, and poor you. But Tiferet is what do you need from me and what can I do for you? And then it's justice. Okay, are we together? Please, I think I have to finish. I have to finish another class. Okay, we got to Tiferet of Chesed. Okay. All right.
Nota.
Okay, con gusto.
Thank you, Vivian.
Thank you very much.